Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the update, or I would say summary of the Ukrainian Belgorod offensive. And this Belgorod offensive comes right at the end of the Bakhmut offensive, which did with the Russian completing the capture of Bakhmut. Now maybe the Ukrainians just want to do something to stop people from talking about Bakhmut. So there's a lot of information in this Belgorod offensive, which I can basically go through the entire thing that happens from the A to the Z. And yeah, so it all started with the reports of Ukrainian forces invading into the Grayvoron region, which is part of Belgorod. So Grayvoron region is actually this area here. This is the Grayvoron region, and there is this customs or border crossing over here. It's part of the Belgorod region. You can see Belgorod over here. So allegedly, according to the Ukrainian information, this force is actually attacked by so-called this Free Legion of Russia or something like that. So some alleged Russian independence army kind of thing. And there is also a saying by the Ukrainian media, propaganda, social media accounts or supporters saying that the aim or possible aim is actually to capture this Belgorod 22 facility. You can see there's this fortress-like mountain area where there is some storage, and they say that the Russians are panicking and they are evacuating and removing all the nuclear ammunition from this storage facility. According to the information, this is not nonsense, right? This is Defense Intelligence of Ukraine official statement on the United News Telethon. What's a telethon? Basically a program, and this was actually shared by DIU themselves. So this is actually official statement from the Ukrainians saying that the Russians are panicking and they are actually evacuating their nuclear weapons or ammunition away from this area. And of course, pure logic will tell you that the Russians would not put something so precious now 20 kilometers, 18 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. That's stupid. So clearly there's nothing there, and it's unlikely to be anything there, as shown by their photos showing that there's actually nothing there, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so the Ukrainian forces basically broke through wrong color, broke through the custom area here. Wrong color again. I should put it red. And there's actually not much defenses around here. The Ukrainians started off with some bombardment of this custom region, and once they come in, they immediately fan out towards Kozinka, which they promptly capture, and then towards Glotovo. So zoom out a bit, and I can see that the Ukrainians quickly go to Kozinka, capture Kozinka. They go through down the main road, capture Glotovo, and this is where the Ukrainian offensive start to have some trouble, because this area here is actually not very defended. The Russian defense line is actually not here. It's actually towards the rear. The line is actually not at the border. So it is also within this region here, maybe just off Grayvoron, where the fighting start to occur, where the Ukrainians tried to go towards Grayvoron, and tried to go to Grayvoron, and they actually fan out from this road here to attack Podo, which also was met by Russian forces. And very quickly, the Russian forces, as much as the social media, when you read it, it might seem that the Russians are really slow. But the actual fact is the Russians actually reacted within the same day. So the Russians actually counterattacked, not just with forces, but with air force and helicopter forces. and the fighting was actually at Goropodo and at Grayvoron, the outskirts of Grayvoron. The Ukrainian forces, I think, have never actually entered into this main town here at all. So there is fighting reported in the city allegedly, and they can hear the sound within Grayvoron, but as you can know that, you know, fog of war, I don't think the fighting is actually there. According to Riber, they said that the fighting only partially reached Grayvoron. The fighting is actually in the outskirts, and then we have the Russian units then counterattack on the same day. It's also on the 22nd of May, and then fighting was also at Goropodo. Anyway, all these images, some of them is actually not exactly the place where it's here. I'm just want to, you know, add some ambience, you know. And then so there is this story about, you know, the Russian Ukrainian forces capturing the house of culture in the village of Goropodo. The interesting thing is that Riber said that there's actually no house of culture at Goropodo. So yeah, you can believe whatever you want. So in the initial operation, the Ukrainian forces quickly actually captured Kozinka. They actually captured Kozinka, and they actually captured Glotovo. And so these two is basically captured upon the initial attack, and then that's why they attacked in this direction. They met with the defenses, and then the Russians counterattack. And in fact, by the end of the second day, by the end of the first day, the Ukrainians are already on the defensive. They are unable to break through, and then they become the hunted. The Ukrainian forces defended themselves in Glotovo and Kozinka, with the Russian forces attacking them strongly. Fighting is already reported in these two locations on the 22nd, and by the night time, you can actually by the night time they already saw the corpse. And by the 23rd, the Ukrainian there's actually rumors or information coming from pro-Russian sources saying that Ukrainians actually sent reinforcement into Kozinka. Reportedly, it's the Kraken National Battalion, the Territorial Defense and Border Guards from Zuloshiv, and the Ukrainians actually reinforced the fighting in this area here. And probably by the 23rd, what happened is that the Russians have already secured Grayvoron and Goropodo, because the fighting is only reported on the 22nd. So as a result, the fighting on the 23rd, which is the past 24 hours, is merely only at Glotovo and Kozinka, and this reinforcement doesn't seem to do anything, because the Russian the Ukrainians quickly withdrew from the checkpoint, and by the end of the 23rd, the Russian forces actually have captured Glotovo, Kozinka, and they actually also captured some vehicles that is totally, you know, still working. They captured a lot of ammunition, some anti-tank launchers, and they then secure the border crossing. And this photo is actually at the border crossing with these Humvees actually trapped within the trench line. There's some trench line around here, or it could be an explosion, but from there's another photo image, it looks like they are stuck within a trench line. So yeah, I'm not sure which one did I put it in. Yeah, but I think I have the image. Yeah, and you see, this is actually the trench line. There's some wooden thing here. So this wooden thing is actually a cover, you know, for the trench. So basically, that's the end of the fight. According to pro-Russian sources, there's a huge force of around 500 Ukrainian troops actually at Velika Pasarivka, and it was geolocated by someone on Twitter of some videos that the Ukrainians actually launched the attack from Velika Pasarivka towards the border. So so there's a Ukrainian force around here, and they basically retreat back into this village here. The Russians did not give chase into Ukraine itself. Basically, after the Ukrainians went back into Ukraine, the Russians basically stopped at the border. They did not follow through. This did not happen. So yeah, which is actually pretty surprising, probably for the Ukrainian forces, because they would probably expect the Russians to give chase into Ukraine itself, and who knows, the Ukrainians might actually have some surprise waiting for the Russians when they actually penetrate through and destroy them. But this did not happen. The Russians basically stopped at the border, very disciplined, and yeah. And on the first day, there was geolocation of Ukrainian forces along this road. Basically, they stopped there probably to regroup as they continue their push through Kozinka, into Glotovo, and up to Gora Toporo, and that marks the end of the Belgorod offensive, you might think. But this is the famous part. What happened is that, according to sources, there is actually other probing attack on the 23rd. On the 23rd, there's Ukrainian attack at towards Gokorsky. Gokorsky is actually here. This is Gokorsky. There's a Ukrainian attack towards Gokorsky and Sapovka over here, and there's also nearby, somewhere between Belgorodok and Shestivnovka. So this information, as you can see, is by Ryba here. So there's a Ukrainian attack basically in multiple directions along here, and this was actually preempted this was actually kind of was expected by Russian sources, because the Russian sources actually noted there's a Ukrainian force at Udi and also at Kozak. I think no, not here, at Kozachalopan, around here, and this force actually attacked this area here, Sapovka and Bogorodok and Shestivnovka. And then there was another force around here that attacked into Gokorsky. However, the Russian forces managed to defend, and the Ukrainian forces did not manage to break through into these villages. The attack was repelled, and the Ukrainian forces withdrew back into Ukraine. So, which means that this attack is pretty was expected to succeed, to hold a defense around Grayvoron, and then with the Ukrainians attacking in multiple directions, while the Russian forces is gathering in this area here, they are expected to break through, maybe to the rear, and then destroy these Russian forces as the Ukrainians continue to move towards Belgorod. But then no, it did not happen. This entire force got wiped out. Not entire force got wiped out, but half the force probably got wiped out as the Ukrainian forces withdraw out of Russia. And in the bigger picture, you probably can see why. If you draw the Russian forces into this area here as a strong push around here, and then they put a defensive, this push here is likely to be able to cut into the rear, and another force can actually go towards there. And who knows, because there is a force at Kozachalopan, this force can actually go through the highway towards Belgorod, and that will actually give Russia a really bad panda eyes on one eye. But of course these actions at the border seems to be not very intensive enough. The number of forces deployed is just not big enough to make a dent. Perhaps this is just a trial run. Maybe the Ukrainians want to do a bigger offensive after this test, of the Russian reaction. They see how fast the Russians can react to a border attack. Maybe that could be something that is being calculated. So what do the Russian forces have in Belgorod? The air force, the helicopter force, how did the Russians actually react to this attack? This will allow the Ukrainians to plan some crazy raid and capture Belgorod, or just simply besiege it and then run back. This could also be possible. So anyway, this quick update or summary of the entire Belgorod offensive. The Belgorod offensive tentatively has largely failed, I would say. It didn't it's not obvious to me if the Ukrainians actually achieve any success at all. Like, other than on the information warfare, they let the Ukrainian supporters have 24 hours excitement, and happiness, maybe 36 hours, and then yeah, and then after that it's like the people died for nothing because they didn't capture anything. It didn't really dented the Russian forces in any way. They did not capture any ground. So this push is not even this big. It's only like half. Like, it's entirely pointless. So I really don't approve of this kind of offensive. If they want to at least one full brigade, at least they can actually push much deeper. Yeah, the number of forces reported is probably around 100 or so, 100 plus something. My sources tell me it's 300. Yeah, I know a lot more about this mission than I'm supposed to know, but I don't want to tell you anything. So according to open sources, the final figure for the Ukrainian losses in terms of vehicles is actually 2 Max Pro, 2 Humvees, and one Humvee cargo. So, and then there's one Ukrainian Kra Cobra and a Polish AMZ Zik2. So, and then some other light vehicles which is not mentioned. And I think there's also some rumors of 70 Ukrainian troops killed or something like this. So anyway, yeah, number of deaths is not important because, like I said, usually it's not very reliable. But this is the Belgorod offensive. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's a very smart move or totally utterly stupid? Let me know. Maybe it's very toot, but maybe they are just toot. Toot. And I'll see you in the next update.